Hello, everyone. Welcome to DXC Technologies. We're a new company, born about a week and a half ago, and but not born yesterday. We're really excited to be one of the first global system integrators, really to be born with an entirely journey to digital agenda. And we're also really excited to welcome all of you to our first technical town hall. We tend to do these very regularly. The whole premise of this is to engage and interact with the market in general around some of the key themes that we're seeing growing up, and drive a huge conversation about what's going on. And I think conversation is important. We tend to do these in two phases. We tend to start off with the thesis that we're going to tell you what we're seeing, and then we move over to a platform called CrowdChat, which is a social media platform, which will allow us to really have a integrated conversation using Twitter and LinkedIn and other social medias to increase the reach and hopefully engage even more people in that conversation around some of these digital themes that we're launching this company around. I think one of the things that we hear more than anything else is the need to be substantially digital. Everyone is kind of on their move to have a digital segment of their business, and what we're actually seeing is that it's actually a little bit different than that. We think that companies are looking to take advantage of the innovation that's naturally coming out of the technology community and put it both into the front end of their business, which they tend to refer typically to as the digital facade, or the digital front end of their business, the products and services they deliver direct to consumers. But we actually are seeing emergingly also a very large digital footprint emerge in the back office of the business, and digitizing the core processes, changing the way that the employees work, making use of information to improve the very basis of business operations, in addition to the growth that they want to get out of those new digital services. And so that notion of both front office and back office full of digital operations, and companies beginning to emerge digital platforms are important. But on the base of them, I think really comes down to a key theme for today's Tech Talk, which is really driving innovation. What we know is that we need experimental cultures to begin to grow and flourish. And again, not just on the front end of the business, not just a select set of people who tag themselves as digital, but everyone in the business rethinking the tools they use, the processes they design, the information that they analyze and exploit, the way they begin to predict, to move into flows with feedback and continuous improvement, and kind of some of the three ways of DevOps. In terms of constantly being willing to experiment and fail. And what we hear more often from clients is that the old way that we used to do IT outsourcing, the way of handling your mess for less, tends to act as a lot of friction in the system, preventing customers from really experimenting and being able to adopt innovative new approaches at the pace that they'd like to I think, survive in this rapidly moving economy. And so what to expect for today? So we're going to talk for about 30 minutes, bring a couple guest speakers up to talk. Then we're going to go into the crowd chat, and I'd like to remind everyone out there that it is a fully public audience. And so I think it's important to get this, the full basis of a communication or of a collaboration with the community, but also recognizing for DXC people who may not be familiar with this model that it is fully open and fully public. And so I don't want you to hold back, but I also want you to do so with your best social media practices, making sure that you don't say something or do something that would otherwise embarrass yourself or the company. With that, nothing really is off limits. We'll answer the questions we can, and I'm going to hand it off to Sukhi to talk a little bit. Sukhi Gill is the regional CTO for the UK and Ireland, and as one of our 6 regional technology leaders, what he's really experiencing on a daily basis is this conversation with clients about, hey, how do you help us to innovate? How do you bring us innovation? And how do we actually sustain that culture of innovation in our client? And I hope let Sukhi explain a little bit more what he's hearing from the marketplace.
Thank you, Dan. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to people dialing in. Really pleased to be able to talk you through a little bit of a passion I have, which is driving innovation with enterprise customers. So Great to start a new role. I'm really excited. I mean, to be frank, guys, what an exciting time to be in technology in a world of sort of disruption where enterprises, startups are all using technology to redefine their businesses. But I'm going to take you a little bit back on a consumer journey, because there's some parallels to be drawn with what we see as consumers and what's happening in enterprises. So as sort of consumers, we're all familiar, right, with the digital revolution we've been participating in for decades. So those of you who are old enough might remember vinyl records moving to compact discs, then to sort of MP3s. But how many of us now currently subscribe to streaming music providers like Spotify or Apple Music? You know, so quite a paradigm shift from a product through to a customer experience and now a business model change. Similarly, sort of photography has had the same paradigm shift from the days of silver halide film, for those who remember it, to the first digital camera that was invented by Steve Sasson at Kodak in 1975. Now, 40 some years later, we routinely snap pictures on our mobile phones and instantly upload to free platforms like Facebook and YouTube. And these images and videos that we're sharing for free on these social media platforms are in turn being used as massive data sets to enable unsupervised training of algorithms for cognitive systems. So our data, we think we're hosting for free, but it's actually serving a purpose for the platform providers. And so both of these examples show how this initial shift to digitization of a format has then enabled a sort of continuum of innovation that's gone from product, as in a digital product from an analog product, to a whole new customer experience, for instance, in music downloads. And now many of us are sort of paying that monthly subscription for streaming video, streaming music. But ultimately, that business model has changed for both consumers and artists, right? Who would have thought artists would get paid per play of a song rather than for the actual media? So this consumerization and this digital transformation is already happening, right? It's not in our control. It's an experience we have every day. Book a travel, you know, anything you think of in your sort of consumer life, and it's being impacted. So what does this really mean for enterprises? And that could be commercial enterprises or government agencies. And what they're seeing is the same digital disruption is occurring in every one of those industries. And it's fueled by this combination of social, mobile, cloud, real-time data, analytics, and it's been empowered by the consumers who are seeing this in their consumer world and are coming in as employees, obviously, into the enterprises. So the weapons of sort of mass disruption that once were enjoyed by a few unicorns are now generally available to all of us. And these digital platforms allow us to build and launch disruptive businesses that reach millions of consumers really easily. And this is what frightens large enterprises, because while they have the heavy asset companies, they're worried about being disintermediated by a digital platform provider who will remove the sort of relationship between them and their direct customer. And that could be a business-to-business interface or business-to-customer interface. Quite frankly, no industry is immune to this disruption. I've talked to Airbus, and with a significant order book, they're worried about being Uberized. And you scratch your head saying, well, how on earth could that happen? But you could see how it's possible. So whether this is energy, healthcare, manufacturing, telecommunications, and obviously IT companies like ourselves, and they could be startups or large existing enterprises, they're only going to survive if they have the vision and technological agility to respond to the market opportunities and threats. And that really means turn ideas into reality very quickly. So it's no longer sufficient to have the best product or service based on senior management bets. So this era of sort of sustainable competitive advantage through R&D, right? We're going to bet on this thing and it's going to take 4 years. I think that sort of era is over for most of us. And so as some of the companies we work with find their product and services businesses under threat, they need to fight back, because they do have scale, resources, access to customers, but what they need to be able to do is use these new technologies to redefine service offerings and the customer experience. And so if enterprises, as Dan said, want to enable a newer and faster way of innovating in products and services, and ultimately in this customer experience and business models, they need to have a portfolio of projects that can fail fast or scale fast if they succeed. So they've got to be willing to try many, many more things. And so this digital transformation term that's coined in many, many books is a strategy and leadership moment for most enterprises. It's a pivotal point, and they're appointing chief digital officers, chief transformation officers appearing on boards of many large companies. And that's their response. But if they continue to do innovation and their IT in the same way, they won't get the benefits. So enterprises really are looking to change the way they do innovation. And this innovation needs to provide that business value in the form of several sort of dimensions. It needs to look at how it transforms the business processes. It needs to enhance the customer experience, and ultimately it will enable these new business models through digital technologies. Any enterprise that works in a current value chain is seeing the blurring boundaries of that value chain and needs to look at that innovation in the context of the broader value chain in which they operate. And Industry 4.0 is one example in manufacturing, where both horizontal integration, vertical integration, as well as smart products are driving a lot of this change. So as business success is increasingly dependent on the innovation agenda and applying these new business models, organizations are trying to establish a roadmap for what should they work on and what should they do. And that knotty problem that's always been around, which is how do we orchestrate our business processes better with the legacy applications we've got, and how do we do the integration of both what we currently have on-prem and what we may have as existing legacy apps with the new applications that are emerging in software as a service or cloud apps and so on. So ultimately, this becomes the need to have a sort of frictionless and simpler integration of what I currently have and what I want to be able to build rapidly in the area of a digital business. So I sort of summarize it and say, listen, it's all about integration, not just the integration of hardware, apps, data into cloud sort of services, but it's the integration of ideas, integration of internal teams, external partners, and new business processes in a much more rapid way of working. Ultimately, the IT line of business customers are quite frustrated with IT. They feel IT is paralyzed and unable to react fast. So typically, they start exploring in the Internet of Services any capability they can use. Now, given an increasing choice of the kind of services they can use out there and how they can get these IT services, they need to choose wisely, because if they don't understand the risk, this may actually get them into deeper trouble rather than enable them. So imagine this world. Imagine that IT could turn your enterprise data into objects that could easily and securely be orchestrated in flows to enable new business moments. Imagine that IT was more like construction building blocks, where you could easily assemble new solutions from existing services and capabilities with minimal development. What that would allow is the business to take both IT building blocks, data blocks, and rapidly innovate using techniques of defining a business model canvas, a one-page view of what this idea looks like, be able to define some epics and user stories using agile sort of product development and software development techniques, and then quickly build a minimum viable product. Actually show something, both IT and business together, show something at board level on the art of the possible. Now that's really behaving like a startup. So if I could summarize sort of how large enterprises are addressing this shift in digital, they want the best of a startup in an enterprise context. And so that's really the challenge that most of our customers are facing. Help me be much more rapid in my innovation agenda, behave like a startup, but help me leverage the assets I have in my enterprise so that I can be differentiated when I do build a product. So what that does also demand, though, is a technology partner who fully understands the technology landscapes and the art of the possible. And so I'm a perfect transition to Sam, who runs the labs in DXC. So over to you, Sam.
Good morning. Thank you very much. So look, I until last week was in the same role, but for Australia and New Zealand, and we did a lot of work around really kind of applying IT to solving problems rather than keeping the lights on. So, you know, traditionally integrators have come along and built big systems in the basement and made sure they work together, and they were more doing things like, you know, managing your systems of record. Maybe they were keeping track of policies and accounts and this kind of thing, but they weren't really differentiating the company. You know, if a bank, you know, they need to have a core banking system that works. That's just, you know, you can't be a bank without that. But it's the things like Apple Pay, for example, that'll really start to differentiate you about your against your competitors. And so where I started to see this was at industry events, and specifically Gartner IT Expert. You know, we'd go in and we'd talk about these systems and kind of these behind the scenes, like the foundation of your business, or I've been using the term platform, on which you grow the rest of the business. And it just wasn't jumping off the page. So what we did was we built these innovation centers, starting in Sydney, but we've also got one on the way in Paris. We've got one set up in Tyson's at headquarters as well. And what these were was more of kind of a way for us to have like a day in the life of our customers. So you could actually come in and there'd be an airport lounge and a cafe and a hot desk area and a modern meeting room and a tech bar and so on. And you could actually come in and walk through different scenarios in that, you know, typical kind of day in the life of a customer. We also have industry scenarios like insurance and banking and healthcare. You know, so the examples of that, we have a scenario where you're using 21st century digital banking, and rather than seeing lists of transactions, you see graphs, and then you say, okay, then in 6 months, I'm going to have a life event like a marriage or a holiday or buying a car, and it'll say, look, you know, maybe you need a savings plan or a loan, and then we'll switch over and start using blockchain to actually then manage the process, particularly when it comes to transferring property like vehicles and houses and so on. In this case, it's a car. So we want to make sure the person selling you the car owns the car, and so on. We want to make sure the authorities know that you own the car. We want to make sure that things like you've got insurance, because then when you drive out of the lot with your new car and have an accident, then we move over to the insurance scenario. And what we do is we get out and through our partnership with 360 Global Net, you take photos and video, and you can actually then get a real-time processing of the claims. And then maybe you've been injured and your doctor then prescribes you some M-Health devices, like, for example, a blood pressure monitor or a glucose monitor or scales and so on. Maybe you've got some other underlying chronic medical condition. And then that data comes back through to the doctor's surgery, where they can be alerted to things like a rapid change in weight, or, you know, some issue with your blood pressure or heart rate or something like this. And then by integrating these different products like Ultragender, they can actually then schedule you to come in and see your doctor, and you're straight into the hospital. So again, coming back to the point before about being an integrator, you know, we are traditionally a systems integrator, but now we're essentially a services aggregator. So you've got all these different services, and it's like, how do we wire those together to make them work seamlessly? And really, at the end of the day, it's about how are we changing the way that our customers actually work. So then the other component to it, which I think is very important, particularly when we have your DXC Technology, the digital transformation company, was we actually created an area for digital transformation technologies. And the idea being that you could come in and learn about those technologies, and then you could tell us about how you thought that we could apply them to your business, in addition to our experience and deep industry expertise with different industries like banking, insurance, and healthcare, and transport, and so on. You could actually come in and tell us, and we've had instances where we've shown demos of the work that we've done. And then our customers have given us, you know, just on Post-it notes, dozens of ideas that we've then prioritized. And almost all of them have been real, tangible, practical problems that we can solve today with digital transformation technologies. You know, we're not necessarily talking about these, you know, big IT outsourcing deals, which are still very important for us and our customers, but the things that might be a little bit more tactical, but still able to change the business, right? Like core banking, those, the big mainframe systems and so on that drive banks today, versus the kind of Apple Pay layer and APIs and so on that allow you to really differentiate yourself. So what we've done now is I've actually taken on, coming out of the ANZ region, taking on labs globally, and we're looking at how we can take these processes that we've had some good early success with in Australia, and how we can actually do that globally. So we're looking at things like setting up solopreneurs around ideas. There's one, for example, who's very interested in artificial intelligence and applying that to relationships in the workplace. We've all heard of two pizza teams in companies like Amazon, where it's like a small team, small enough that you can feed it with two pizzas, but very agile. And then finally, and we've had some good success here, some good early success here with cross-functional teams focusing on things like Microsoft Secure Productive Enterprise and Azure Stack. So we're actually building up teams that, rather than kind of a long-running center of excellence, actually have a short, target to get MSSPE and Azure Stack and stuff up and running in typical customer scenarios, so that we can get out there and make sure that we're ready to hit the ground running when those products are actually available. We've also done some work in banking. There's plenty of places in banking and insurance where you can apply machine learning, for example, in places like underwriting and loan origination and processing claims and so on. And also we're looking at things like manufacturing, where we've actually taken technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality, and we're actually using that to help manage manufacturing processes. We're doing a lot of this. We are having these centers, so we do have a presence in our main centers, but we're also leveraging our presence in centers like India and Vietnam and so on, where they're doing some really great work around robotic process automation and blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT, mobile, and so on. So we can now really get those technologies in front of our customers. But look, at the end of the day, and I'll wrap up here to keep us on time, I think when you hear about Christensen, he's always talking about what's the job to be done. And I think our job as a systems integrator or now a services aggregator is really to apply IT to solving business problems. So look, I'll hand over to Lewis, because he's been doing some very similar work to the innovation centers and with LEF and the XLabs, and he can talk some more about that.
Thanks, Sam. Hello, everyone. My name's Lewis Richards, and I work for a group called the Leading Edge Forum. We're at leadingedgeforum.com if you want to go and have a look at us. I'm at Stroker on Twitter, if you want to follow me on there. Within the Leading Edge Forum is our research advisory arm. We basically look at the world through a couple of lenses. And our job really is to be the sensing function for the business. Within that program, I run something called the 21st Century Human Program. And what we spend our time doing is basically helping our clients make sense of the world around us. So, we all hear the words digital, left, right, and center every day. And our job is to try and move it from the abstract to the real. So to jump the words off the PowerPoint deck and bring it to life for people. And we do this through a variety of means, through written research, through advisory services, and through one of the advisory services is something that I call the Experience Lab, which I run, which I'll talk about in a second. And we also run things like study tours, which I've just come back from. I'll just talk about for a couple of minutes. So the study tours are kind of a jewel in our crown, really, for the business. We take a group of client executives away to, the last 2 years, we've gone to Seattle and Silicon Valley for a week. And it's really a fantastic sensing mechanism for our clients to come out of their comfort zone, meet their peers, and go and visit the outside world, to get them outside the walls of their firm and get them outside of the walls of their systems integrators as well, to see kind of how other companies are working. So the tour we've just completed was on machine intelligence, and it was a tour we ran in September last year, and it was so popular we had to put it on again. So we just run the second version of that same tour. So we started off the week in Seattle, and we took our clients to see the big guns in the space. We went to see Microsoft and their Cortana Intelligence Suite. We went to see Amazon and a fantastic presentation talking about their new Greengrass project. We went to see Madrona Ventures, who are a big VC firm, see a number of really, really interesting startups there. People like companies like Extra Hop and Cumulo. which I'll send some links out later on so you guys can see this study tour and see the kind of companies that we went to see there in Seattle. We went down to San Francisco then, and we went to see Google and saw what Google were doing. Has a fantastic presentation from what they're doing to really make their stuff ready for the enterprise. It was quite refreshing to hear it from the horse's mouth, kind of where they feel they are in the cloud wars at the moment. And we went to Andreessen Horowitz. So Andreessen Horowitz are kind of like the premier VC investing firm, and over there, and they always allow us full access to their client list so we can pick companies that we want to go and see and talk to as well. So we saw some fantastic presenters down there as well. We saw a company called Unify ID, which is the potential to really change the identity space forever for us if they ever pull off their technology. We had a brilliant fireside chat from one of their partners, a guy called Frank Chen. And what this allows us to do more than anything else really is it allows our customers to contextualize their own skill sets, their own businesses, their own procedures, their processes in the outside world. So it's an outside-in view of sort of Silicon Valley and Seattle. They can see where they are from a benchmark point of view. And that's really, really useful, I think, because part of our journey and our job at DXC now is going to be to try and convince them that we are the trusted partner of choice. And I think programs like the LEF's one is a very good way of having that conversation with customers. And I think it's a perfect time for us to come together with our research around winning in the 21st century organization. How do we win in the 21st century? The future of the retained IT organization, our work on the matrix, and the work we're doing on the 21st century human program itself in terms of how do we bring the people with us on this transformation journey. And I'm really excited to be part of DXC, working for Dan and the team at the moment. I think it's a really good time for us to reform ourselves around this kind of stuff. And I think the idea is we've got to roll our sleeves up and get cracking, really. And if you want any more information on this kind of stuff, I'll be on the crowd chat in a minute, and I'll give you all links to the LEF research, our YouTube channels, all the kind of things you can access about the LEF program, because I know lots of people won't have heard of it before. And to keep us on time, I'm going to pass back over to Dan.
Thanks, Lewis. That's awesome. So as you can see, there's a lot of innovation going on. Right? I know it was said on kind of both of the companies that were merged to create DXC Technologies. If only we knew what we know, and I think that couldn't be more right today. And I think our obligation as a technology community is to stay as massively current as we can, and to constantly experiment and report back on the experiment. One of the most important things that I think is the success is when we don't make the same mistake twice. And that's really telling us that we're getting to scale in our innovation, is being able to share both what worked and what didn't, so that we don't hear about the same mistakes going on time and time again. But not only that, there's a value-added piece of that, which is actually talking more about what success looks like and beginning to actually build up the catalog of value cases for some of these new technologies to help them accelerate towards their tipping points in the marketplace. Because I think a lot of times what we're seeing in innovation today is not just technology-induced innovation, but it is actually a kind of displaced innovation. It's that innovation that you see in one marketplace that you can translate into another for nearly equal value positions in those other markets. And so there is translational innovation, right, that we certainly see. So this is really a great time to be in technology. We're riding this next wave of disruption, really driven on the back of these digital platforms that are emerging in the marketplace, the huge expanse and adoption of mobile, the new consumerized channel for everything from wearables to AR to VR, to a set of consumers that are coming up who've been grown up digital, don't even know what a film camera looks like, and new expectations of how they want to interact with systems, and certainly a loss of the shackles, I think, of some of the old days in which some things were viewed as impossible because of the state of technology at the time, where now the libraries, frameworks, open source, and this consumerized economy is putting those tools in everyone's hands and really creating a huge democratization of access to very, very inexpensive tools that can be just substantially innovative and disruptive in the marketplace. So incredibly exciting time. I'm really excited as well as the chief technologist for DXC to help us to drive a portfolio into this marketplace. The key model that we're driving out there is to bring the innovation through substantially standardized offers in such a way that people can always be beta testing the next version of our capability as we bring more and more consistent service integratable capabilities into the marketplace, and pacing that with our strategic partners who are massively core to our new economy, because what they're actually allowing us to do is to get access to hundreds of billions of dollars worth of research and development, which we can now put to use with our clients with a lot more pace. And so I'm really, really excited at this tipping point, really excited to be at DXC, and hope all of you will join us over on CrowdChat to actually continue these discussions. And I'd really like to get into the heart of, you know, how can we bring that innovation to light, and how can we actually help our customers be more confident in their self-disruption world, their experimentation, culture building, so that we can accelerate the whole marketplace. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and have you all move over to CrowdChat, but also suggest we are going to do one of these in a couple of weeks, May 17th, and we are going to talk about the 21st century enterprise, which is really, as we begin to think about this innovation, this execution-focused economy, how does an enterprise really need to rethink what it means to be a 21st century enterprise as opposed to one that was built in the 20th century, and what are the qualities of those enterprises, and how do you do it, and how do you make that transformational change? So with that, I'd love to thank our speakers, right, Sukhi and Sam and Lewis, and we'll join you all in CrowdChat right now. Thank you very much.